Shalom and good evening. Thank you everyone for joining us here tonight. This is very, very special to see so many faces. I saw many of you last night's UCCA meeting. I've heard from many of you over the internet, and it's very nice to put a name to a face, and I really appreciate you being here with us tonight. I'm assuming that people will be coming in and out as we go by. I don't intend for the evening to be so long. I wanted just to share a few words of thanks, followed by an opportunity for anybody who would like to ask questions or comment on anything. I would really like to hear from you as well. So if you give me a few moments, and then, God willing, I'll turn over the microphone to whoever here wishes to ask or say anything in this group. Right now you are muted, but for the second part of tonight, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself. And really, I thank you from wherever you are for being here tonight, for having your video cameras on. We appreciate that very much. Again, thank you so much. When this story first happened, and I was in this place of, so what are we going to do? It seemed to me that nobody was taking this seriously. And I took to an unusual step from me, but I took to a social media platform, the Next Door Neighbor app, where I know many of you from, and I posted a post, and I cannot tell you, it wasn't even minutes that passed by before dozens and dozens and dozens of messages of support started coming in. But not just support in private, not just support in public, but people pushing the media to get involved. And I really want to say that the Next Door neighbors from the Next Door app, whether you are my actual Next Door neighbors or you're part of this glorious university city and Claremont communities, I want to say my first thank you to you, because if it was not for you, I'm certain that this story wouldn't receive the attention that it received. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being crucial, not just in showing me your personal care, but to bring this out to the spotlights that it can be taken care of properly. The second group of people that I wish to thank are the journalists who took special interest in this case, especially to Don Harrison of the San Diego Jewish World, who was the first one to contact me and to let me know that he wants to cover the story and thoroughly cover the story, as he does with many other news stories in this town. And really, if you haven't seen it before, I highly recommend checking out Don Harrison's good work in the San Diego Jewish World. Also to John Horn, who was the first media representative who reached out to me after Don from ABC 10 News. I owe him a tremendous debt of gratitude for being the first one to come out here. He said in the last 6 months, he's only done 4 in-person interviews, not over Zoom, due to COVID restrictions, and he made an exception for us to come out to see the location, to film us personally, and I'm very, very grateful to him for his coverage. And ultimately, that led to a number of other people getting involved in the story. It would be remiss not to mention Tammy Gillies of the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL here in San Diego. She's the regional director. She has been an unbelievable support of strength and guidance every step of the way, questions that have come up, advice on how to deal with situations that for her are her lifetime mission, and for me is something that hopefully will only happen to me once. To Barry Bernstein and the entire UCCA, who hosted a wonderful meeting last night and really took everything else off the agenda to put this on the agenda. I wanted to say thank you to him. And to Tama Becker-Verano of Change Begins With Me San Diego, who's organizing our Saturday event, and I'm going to announce about that later, but thank you to all of the neighbors involved in that and making this happen. Ultimately, as much as the news may have reported that we were initially disappointed with the police response to the story, I have to say that the police did a complete turnaround. And from Monday morning, when I received a personal phone call from Northern Division Captain Matt Novak, who made it his mission not just to tell me that he expects better from the officers, but to actually show that he really does intend things should be better and has made this case a top priority. Him and Chief David Nizlite, who I had the honor of speaking with today, have really put an entire team on this case, put an entire team on the story, and that's especially Detective Emily Clark, who has been working around the clock after hours. I've noticed even from the emails and the messages that she's beyond her normal working hours trying to put an end to the story, as well as to our favorite and very famous officer, Melanie Bagnuda, who is our resource officer here in the community, who has a beautiful name here. Everyone knows her and respects her and appreciates her. I wanted to thank the entire San Diego Police Department, specifically the Northern Division, for doing everything they can to make this a priority and to deal with it so that we can finally put an end to whatever was going on here in our neighborhood. I really want to say thank you to the Jewish community around the world who has been sending messages of care and concern and have really showed what it's like to be a people that spans many continents and many countries, but have come together surrounding one message. And lastly, to the members of my local Shiviti, Kehillat, Shaar, HaShamayim community, those of you who've been in my community for the last 7 years, we've been together, we've prayed together, we've studied together, We've been together in the good times, and now, unfortunately, we can say also through the bad times, but they've been beside me from the beginning and until today, and I owe every single one of you who I've mentioned. And if there are any names that I did not mention, I'm asking forgiveness, but I thank every single person involved in the story for being who you are and showing me that anything that I experience and anything that my community experienced is an exception to the tremendous friendship and neighborliness that is the University City community. I really thank you from the bottom of my heart. I want to take just a moment and update everyone as to what's going on with the case. I'm not a police officer. I'm not assigned to the case. I simply was the victim of this case, and I wish to just share what was shared with us today by the police chief as well as by the captain, Captain Novak, and that is that they have identified the suspect in the case, and because the suspect is a juvenile, there's not much more that they can tell us, myself included, while they're in an active investigation. And I'm asking for all of those who are reaching out and speaking with them to just respect the fact that we live in a wonderful country with a genuine legal system, and to allow that legal system to take its course, to run its course. I spoke with the district attorney, Leonard Tin, who reached out and really showed his support, and his specialty, unfortunately, is the hate crimes division. And really, this city's officials are doing everything they possibly can. If it's Barbara Bree's office, who reached out already on the first day to show us their names, so many names that I wish to mention, but every single one of them are taking care of this case. And when we know more, we will share more. But for right now, I think that University City can rest knowing that the police have not only stepped up their presence, but have also stepped forward and taken care of whatever situation that I hope will never have to repeat itself here in University City. And I'm very grateful to them. And God should bless them and take care of them. I wanted just to take this opportunity to share a little more, maybe something personal, if we're anyways together and we're anyways here. One of the first questions that people asked when this story came out, and especially on the news, and because, you know, we've been living at university for so long, we've never heard of the Shiviti Jewish community. What is the Shiviti community? And I felt that it would be appropriate to address that and to share a little bit about who we are and what we are, and just let us know on a personal level, to break the ice and to introduce ourselves formally to the neighborhood, as we probably should have done a very long time ago under much more positive circumstances. So Shiviti was founded here in University City in 2015, and to tell you the truth is that we were founded in the wake of tremendous anti-Semitism across the world, including attacks on synagogues, and we decided as a very small group of members that we would much rather keep a very low profile in San Diego. We don't have any signage outside of our community. We don't advertise aggressively about our community. We're a small group of friends and family that keep to ourselves, not, God forbid, out of snobbery, but out of a desire to remain safe and to remain anonymous under the radar. That all changed. That all changed on Saturday, October the 10th, when we were pushed into the limelight. And I figured that if we're there and if that's what the creator of the universe wanted us to be at, then I might as well formally introduce ourselves. So I'm Rabbi Yonatan Halevy. My wife, you see her on the screen, Devorah Goldberger, otherwise known in our community as Rabbanit Devorah. We both are the spiritual leaders of the Shiviti movement, which I'll explain to you in just a moment. The Shiviti movement is a worldwide organization that we founded and we run from here, that has branches from Israel to the United Kingdom to the United States of America. We have students across the world that, thank God, using the technology of the internet and other such methods, we've managed to create a worldwide movement that is very close to us, but is based out of this very small local Kehillat, Shaar, HaShamayim community that is on Governor Drive. We are a Sephardic community, and many people have asked us what is Sephardic. Sephardic means many things, and whereas most Americans may be familiar with Jews as Eastern European, a very Eurocentric understanding of what are Jewish people, we belong not just ethnically, but also philosophically to a Jewish community which inhabited the Middle East, North Africa, initially in Spain. That's where the word Sephardic comes from. Sepharad in Hebrew is Spain. Our community itself is ethnically diverse, but we subscribe to the teachings and the philosophy of the Sephardic community around the world. Sephardic Judaism is so rare that though there are many Sephardic Jews in San Diego, our community is the only Sephardic community south of perhaps Orange County, which is a Sephardic community and has a Sephardic ordained rabbi, and we are very proud about that. And we are the same religion as every other religion. We belong to the same nation as the Jewish people, but we have a very distinct and unique philosophy that even many in our own Jewish community are absolutely unaware of. Perhaps one of the most famous hallmarks of the Sephardic community is that we do not break up into Eurocentric, otherwise known as Ashkenazi Jewish denominations. There are no Orthodox or Reform or Conservative or Reconstructionist or Humanistic or Renewal Jewish Sephardic organizations. We are simply Sephardic, united under one umbrella, united under one belief system, and spanning very many different ethnicities and religious beliefs. And that's so much a part of who we are that we should never be divided. And so much of what has happened to me since then since Saturday, has shown me that this community is perhaps Sephardic in its own right, in its belief that no matter who we are and which religion we belong to and which house of worship we frequent or don't frequent at all in this neighborhood, that we're all the same people, that we're all American citizens, that we're all brothers and sisters, and that there's so much more that combines, unites us than that which divides us. And for me, that has been a tremendous and powerful lesson that has come out of the unfortunate events of recent history. As I said, we're an ethnically diverse community. We are Sephardic in our philosophy, and one of our mottos here at Shiviti is that Sephardic is not about where you come from. It is about where you wish to see yourself go. And so many of our members are people who join the Shiviti movement in order to see themselves go somewhere positive, somewhere good, somewhere full of blessing and just goodness. And that's our flagship, is just to be better people in this world. There's a famous Jewish sage who once told his students that when he first became a rabbi, he decided that he was going to change the world. And when he realized that he couldn't change the world, he thought he was going to change his country. And when he couldn't change his country, he felt that he was going to change the people in his city. And when that wasn't successful, he tried to change his family members. And when he realized that even his own family members were different than himself, he figured he might as well just try to change himself. And he said in changing himself, he realized that he had a profound effect on his family, which then in turn affected positively his community and his city and his country and ultimately the entire world. And I think if you ask me, so what is Shiviti really all about? We're a group of people who are dedicated to rigorous study and to spiritual discipline, which focus primarily on bettering ourselves for the sake of bettering society at large of the world and contributing positively to the whole world. We ourselves inside of the Jewish community are quite famous for our stances of challenging accepted norms and standards and beliefs in our own faith community. And in challenging ourselves, we in turn hope to change all of the citizens of the world to think positively, to think better, to think differently than some of the stigmas or stereotypes that we have all been conditioned and all the biases that have been programmed into us, to free ourselves from them and to think about the world in an entirely different fashion, in a better and more positive fashion. I myself was born here in University City and not far from here. To my parents who are Israeli immigrants to San Diego, my parents both live here in University City. They've been in this neighborhood for close to 40 years. I had left San Diego to go to rabbinical school in Baltimore. I then went to Jerusalem, where I was ordained as a Sephardic rabbi, and came back to University City in 2013 to open up this community. I married my wife, Rabbanit Devorah Goldberger, now Halevy, who is from the Hasidic community of New York. She is a professor at Yeshiva University in New York, as well as finishing her PhD right now in social welfare. She's a social worker and the teacher. Down the street by UTC Mall, there's the Beth Israel Synagogue. There's a Jewish girls' school there, which she teaches there as well. Among her many other occupations that keep her much busier than I. And the only reason why we have a community and why I'm here in the first place is because of the tremendous dedication and unwavering support of my wife and her partnership in leading our community. I wanted briefly just to share with you a message of moving forward. So where do we go from here? I may not be your rabbi, but I am a spiritual leader in this community, and I felt that the message that I wish to give to my community this Shabbat, this Saturday, is the same message I wish to give you. And that is that we as proud Americans will never cower to fear. And we're stronger together than we are divided. And I would love to see University City residents and Claremont residents and all the San Diegans that have reached out. I would love to see us come together more often and more regularly without having negative events inspire us, but rather to join together for constructive and positive purposes. And I'm putting myself out there. As much as I've tried to remain anonymous in the last 7 years, I'm asking for all of those organizations that are in this beautiful neighborhood to reach out. I would love to be a part. My community members would love to know. We would love to be part of everything positive that happens here in University City, and I'm sure that partnering with positive people like you can only bring about tremendous things to the world. Last but not least, my message going forward is that as I have lived in America, born here and raised here, I see America, the America that I love and the America that I know, sadly, becoming a more and more divided country, perhaps more divided than ever before. I almost feel some days that people even choose which produce to buy at the grocery store based on their political beliefs, that people can't talk to each other anymore because of their political beliefs, that people are always arguing about everything and they're partisan and they can't see that other people are also good and people that are different than I and believe differently than myself also intend well for the well-being of this country. And I feel that as a divided America, we can learn from this event that we look around this Zoom room and see, so who in this room is like me? Who shares my skin color? Who shares my faith? Who shares my ethnicity? Who shares my orientations? And say, we're all in this together. We're on this ship together. And if we could walk away and say, look, when something negative happens in our community, look how we rally together. My only request is that we as Americans, especially in the climate that we're in right now, realize that as much as there are people out there who wish to divide us, we are so much better together. And we can accomplish so much more when we're together. And it would be an honor for me to have suffered anything on earth, for us to learn a message, myself and my family included, that we as Americans are so much better off together. And that's my main walk away from this entire story. I want to just conclude with a quote from Viktor Frankl, who was a Jewish psychiatrist as well as neurologist who survived, who was born in Austria, survived the Holocaust, and wrote a number of fascinating works, which I highly recommend. Many people have been reaching out to me, Rabbi, I'm not Jewish, but, Rabbi, I'm not Jewish, but, Rabbi, I'm not Jewish, but, and I keep hearing this, I'm not Jewish, but, and I've never in my life been approached by so many people confessing to me that they're not something but, and there's no need to, because Viktor Frankl taught us something fascinating. And if I may read to you one final quote. He writes, from all this we may learn that there are two races of men in this world, but only these two. The race of the decent man and the race of the indecent man. Both are found everywhere. They penetrate into all groups of society. No group consists entirely of decent or indecent people. I just want to thank you, this group of people who are here tonight, my neighbors, my friends, some old and some new. Thank you for being the most decent people that I have been honored to know and to get to know. I am blessed by your presence here tonight. I just want to wish you all a beautiful evening and a reminder that many of our neighbors are joining together on Saturday morning from 11 till 12 a.m., 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right outside of our building on the corner of Governor and Regents for a peaceful show of support. We're organized that already with our police department, who will be there and are happy to be there. We're asking that everyone who comes, please wear your masks and stand separate from each other so we can do this safely in the COVID era. I want to make sure that there's nothing in the world that is greater than our health and well-being. And for any reason that people feel like they're not willing to come or not able to come, please know that your being here tonight is everything that matters. And I want to thank Tama again, her wonderful organization, for making sure this event on Saturday happens. I'll be coming out with my community as soon as we finish services to thank each and every person who's there. And also, I'm offering for anyone who wishes to join and to dabble in a little bit of the Shiviti philosophy, I'm giving a lecture on Sunday night called How to Heal Hatred of the Heart. And I would very much love to share with you some of the messages and ideas that we've incubated, that we've meditated on in our community. Is open to everybody. You need no background in any other spiritual disciplines to understand. I'll be providing source sheets and everything else. If you'd like to join us this Sunday night at 8 p.m., it will be an honor for me to see you there. And just before we break, I want to make one note before I take comments and questions tonight, just to respect the sensitivity of my community and our religious and social beliefs, which are that we don't involve ourselves in any politics, not in any governmental politics, not in any runs for candidates or anything else like that. And I'm asking that as much as people may sometimes feel that certain people have influenced or changed or desire, I'm asking you just in this forum tonight to ask the question, to comment, but without throwing any other branch of Americans under the bus, without any rhetoric that doesn't belong here tonight, just to share and to talk as neighbors, as friends, like I said earlier, who have so much more in common than we have separate. Really, thank you to everyone for being here tonight. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you. My email address is rabbi, R-A-B-B-I, at shiviti.org, shiviti.org. I would love to hear from you personally after all of this finishes. I'd love to get to know you, to see you, to know your families. I want you to know that just like you were here for me today, myself, my family, my community, we're all here for you as well. If anything else ever needs to be taken care of, please know that you have a friend in us. Laila Tov, have a good night, and God bless America. God bless our beautiful city, and God bless our beautiful community. Thank you so much for being here tonight. If anybody wants to unmute themselves or ask any questions, please. Are you able to unmute yourselves? Yes? Anyone want to go first?
Yes, sir. I have a question. So you say you're down by Radcliffe. So are you different than the Jewish building by Radcliffe, just west of Genesee? Is that separate?
It's a really good question. So our synagogue is located on the corner of Governor and Regents Road. We're in a temporary facility so that for COVID purposes, we can maintain our social distancing. It's a separate community in terms of our organization and our synagogue from another community. But like I said earlier, we're all part of the same Jewish people, and we're in good and cordial terms with each other. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
On that note, I wanted to know if you have reached out or if they have reached out to you from the Chabad or the other temples in University City.
So I'll have you know that even though on Saturday and Sunday of last week we were not allowed to use our telephones or emails due to our Jewish faith, the way that Jewish word spreads very quickly, within half an hour or 45 minutes of what happened, already both communities had shared information and mingled, and people walked to each side of Governor Drive to share information. So yes, we've been in touch with each other, and we are, like I said, obviously, though we are different organizations, we are both trying to accomplish the same good in the world. Yes.
Rabbi?
Yes.
I have a question. I've been very concerned about the way the police initially handled this. Do you feel that it was a anti-Semitic reaction from the police, or why would they not treat this more seriously?
So that's a really good question, and it's one that bothers me as well. So I appreciate that question. I see many people nodding their head here. So obviously it doesn't just bother you or me, but more of us. I don't want to speak on behalf of the police department. I can't tell you anything in their name. I do know that both the chief and the captain have promised me to look into that initial response. I would like to share maybe a few ideas in mine. I like to believe because we were all wearing masks that nobody knew that I was Jewish, but I'd have a hard time telling you that with a straight face. I do not believe that the responding officers were, God forbid, anti-Semitic or full of any type of hate. Rather, they looked like they were busy. They told me themselves that they came from a different division to answer this call. Some have suggested that maybe they were newer officers and not as well trained and perhaps how they should have responded. I don't wish any ill to those two responding officers. Today, I was in a private security meeting with the Anti-Defamation League, coordinated with the San Diego Police Department. Both the chief of the whole San Diego Police Department as well as the captain of our division were there together, and they've all decided to work together to provide our officers with better training to responding not just to Jewish incidents but to hate crimes in general, to give them the training they need to know to take such things seriously in the future. And if that's what comes out of this, then I'm happy that we together with the police department have learned and decided to commit to doing better in that way.
Thank you.
Of course.
Can I say something about that, please?
Please, Shaul.
You know, I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you, I have a lot of experience working with juvenile cases and adults, criminals. There's something about the law. When people are juveniles, they're treated very differently than when they're adults. If this, God forbid, would have happened with an adult, let's say it was an adult who assaulted Rabbi Yoni, you would have had a whole different immediate response. The reason is a lot of the officers, when they look at juveniles, they figure there really is very little they can do initially, because juveniles fall into a different system than the adults. So I think, again, I'm not in the police department to be able to tell this is indeed accurate, but my hunch is they're new officers, they looked at the situation, they figured these kids, they're youngsters. And they figure, well, they're pranksters. That's what they figured. They didn't take it very seriously. They didn't elevate it to the level of hate crime. Okay? They looked at it as, teenagers misbehaving. So I think that's part of the reason why this happened. And it's very hard, you know, when you have a teenager that's being tried or being prosecuted or whatever, it's a whole different system. It goes through the juvenile system, not
And on
the.
that note, if I just may add that I did speak with the deputy district attorney who's responsible for this case, and he actually is going to have to pass it through a whole different ring of laws for juveniles. But I do think that there's a silver lining in that, and that is that as juveniles, and if the police have really truly identified who this person is, and there is going to be a case against them, juveniles are offered more chances at positive rehabilitation than other people are. Instead of just a punitive, let's lock a person up, they're offered serious chances to not just get off the street, but get off the street to somewhere which promises to return them back to society as better people, different than the rest of our penal system. And I a little bit in the silver lining, I see that maybe we've managed to catch a problem before it got too bad and help these people get back to their families and back to our community as positive, upright people. And I'm hoping that that's the case. Anyone else?
Can I
Me.
just share? Oh, sorry.
Please.
After Elsa.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to know if the identity of the person has been resolved, and like, you know, my concern is that, for example, my husband, my kids, they walk around with kippot. They, you know, I cover my hair. We look somehow different. Even when you go to the store, you know, they ask you for your week card when you have a head covering. So it's, you know, is there a way for us to have a general description of this individual, what to look for, you know, some kind of a thing that can help us be aware, but not in vain aware, like not paranoid, just like know exactly what to look for. And, you know, hopefully this person has been identified and, you know, put soon into like the treatment or whatever they need to done.
Let me tell you that from what I understood today from the chief of police is that this person has been positively identified, and that as he told us, as Captain Novak told us last night at the UCCA meeting, that University City residents should no longer feel that the threat is out there, and we have not so much to be concerned about. Aside from that, the police have stepped up their presence significantly. There are patrol cars in the Sprouts parking lot in front of the synagogue. They've been patrolling. Every shift has been making it their priority to come by. They will be there on Shabbatot. I don't wish to see a day where Jewish residents or any faith residents in University City are afraid to wear their skull caps or their head coverings to the synagogue because they're afraid that someone might identify them. I would like to say that the people that you see here are indicative of the people of University City who, if they would see you with a kippah on, would probably be more inclined to give you a hug than anything else. And I think that for right now, if we are trusting the police, which I do, that we have nothing to fear, at least not from this group of individuals this coming Shabbat. And I think you could rest assured that that's going to be okay.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Of course. Tama, you wanted to share something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you. I think this is a wonderful gathering of community right here that you've brought together, and I appreciate you educating us about yourself, your family, and your congregation. I speaking for myself, I didn't really know that you even existed in UC, to be honest with you, outside the Chabad, which is right down the street from my house. So this has been educational, and I think you've just been so positive in your messaging. I really appreciate that. And I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better on Saturday and even more so in the future. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much. Just, you know, you mentioned Chabad, which is near your house. If I might share another personal anecdote, that is that my father came to the United States to finish his PhD at the University of Santa Barbara, and then came to San Diego for a larger Jewish community. My parents were from the first members of Chabad of University City. I was raised myself in the Chabad of University City community, and we have, like I said before, a lot of good feelings in this neighborhood. And I just, I'm grateful that now that we're on the map, at least now we're making it a positive instance that we're on the map. So, thank you for that.
Rabbi, two questions.
Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah. First of all, okay, I guess 3 questions. How are you, first of all? How are you feeling? How's your health? You said possible whiplash in your neck?
So I'm sure there are a lot of rumors going around. Thank God my neck is fine. It was hurting for about the first 14 hours after the incident, but today I'm okay. Our community's doctors have checked me out, and I'm good to go. That's why I'm here with you tonight. So thank you for that. Second question.
Thank God. Second question is, I know you mentioned in your previous address that these group of teenagers, it was a pattern for them. They were coming, I think every day. Since the incidents happened, you said there was a police presence. Have the teenagers returned since?
They returned a number of times between when that incident happened until the police got involved. I'll tell you the truth is that I've been to the complex a few times to set up different things in the last week. We removed our Torah scrolls, we removed our valuables out of fear in that location. I will tell you that, unfortunately, because it follows the rules of the shopping center, but unfortunately, I haven't seen any kids on skateboards or scooters or bicycles anywhere near the complex. There must be a message out there that you don't want to be a teenager riding your bike right now in this climate in University City. And so not only have they not returned, but even the good kids on bikes and skateboards have not returned either. So I'd like to let them know that if you're one of the nice guys in a scooter or a skateboard, please come by and get some cookies or water bottles from the synagogue. We would love to see you. Right, you don't have to steal them. We're happy to hand them out this time around. And your third question, Jonathan?
Third question was, has this news story, do you know if it's received any national attention yet, or has it just remained on local level? I'm talking about, let's say, any of the major news outlets, so the cable news or anything like that.
So I actually don't know. I'm sure that people here monitor the news more than I do. I don't own a television in my home, so I don't actually know what goes on in so much of the world, but Israel has covered it. We had a few articles from Mexico which covered it. I know that ABC 10 aired it, and their higher channels wanted to do that as well, some other networks, but I don't know if it's actually gone anywhere. If you know, please let me know. Shelley, you're raising your hand?
Yes,
Yeah.
a friend forwarded an article from something from New York called Forward.
Yes, Sarah Brown in the forward wrote about us as well.
Okay, yeah, there was a wonderful article in that.
Yeah, a very wonderful article. She actually interviewed myself as well as the security team. The Forward is a special magazine in the Jewish community. Tony, I think you wanted to say something or ask something?
Yes, I just wanted to, could you repeat the time and location on Saturday?
Absolutely. So we pray from 9 till 12, and out there, the event will be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. So, Tam, I'm correct? 11 till 12? Yeah, I think that's what it says in the flyer.
Yes.
11 till 12.
Yes, sorry. I can drop the flyer into the chat box if people
Please, if it's possible.
Very good.
may try to do that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi.
Rabbi, can I ask you a question?
Please, who's this speaking?
This is Dawn.
Oh, Dawn, how are you?
I'm good. So I have a question. How would you, between Poway and now this happening in our communities, how would you, it was tough enough on the kids with Poway, and now this happening. How do we explain to the kids that they're safe? They've lost that sense of security. They were kind of getting it back, and now how do we, what kind of conversation do we have with them?
That's a hard question. It's actually one that I might hand off to my wife if she's willing to share. She's the social worker in the family. Yeah. You don't know yourself to take this to you.
All right. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Like the rabbi, my husband said, first of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the outpouring of love and support. It's so wonderful to get to know you, though we'd love to get to know you in better circumstance, God willing. Dawn, to address your question, I think there are two different factors. One is to remember that our children are a lot more resilient than we are. So a lot of the things that we fear and that stick with us for a really long time, once we help our children process, they bounce back a lot better. And it's important to make sure that we as the adults first take the time to process independently, so that when we speak to our children, we're not giving over those vibes of fear and concern and anxiety that may rightfully be there, but are not theirs. So I think that's the first step, which is taking care of ourselves. If we're able to identify the things that we're worried about, we're concerned about, and deal with them effectively, we'll then be able to talk to our children independently. I think it's important to know that, you do that? Okay. I think it's also important to know that we never want to give our children false hope. We want to give them courage and strength and support. We don't need to lie to them. And depending on the age of the child, it is appropriate to do two things. Number one is have a conversation where you share facts that are age appropriate. Number two, and probably more important, is to provide a listening ear. We never know what our children hear, don't hear, I know my own 6-year-old was telling me, he said, oh, I know, Abba, which is dad in Hebrew. He went to talk to the police. I said, yeah, he did. And it was interesting to hear from his perspective of what were they talking about, what was going on, and really just letting him talk. And I think that that's a gift that we could give our children, which is let them talk, let them express their fears, their concerns, and their anxieties. And we don't necessarily have to offer solutions as much as give them the ability to share. And then going back to the first point, which is depending on the age, giving them constructive advice, whether it's, yes, being more vigilant, but also not being terrified. We're not looking to create more anxiety in children who are already fearful. On the other hand, there are very practical steps that can and should be taken. And ultimately, if this is a catalyst for something more severe, whether it's depression, anxiety, I'm always going to say then outsource it to a mental health professional.
Right. Let me bring us back. All right, thank you, Don, for that question. Is there anyone else who had anything that I don't know how to put us back?
Yes, yes. Me. I'd like to say something.
Please.
I have been around the San Diego Police Department through the San Diego Police Foundation. And what I've learned is that they're truly a very, very dedicated organization. What happened was truly an anomaly as far as those police officers, and the San Diego Police Department does care about all San Diegans.
And you should know that we as a community echo that message very strongly. That even if there was an initial response, Chief Neisler, I believe he said that the police department, his motto is that they strive for perfection, but they'll accept excellence. And I think that really across the board, that's something that they show us and they've continued to show us. And we are nothing but proud and supportive of our police department. And look, from their actions, they really speak louder than anything else, is that they've done everything they possibly can, not just to correct, but to be proactive in the situation. And I believe that that's something, it's a message that we all agree with you on.
I believe we're very fortunate to be living in a city with a police department like SDPD.
That's right. That's right. You should know, I was today at I was with the Anti-Defamation League, and there were 2 things that I learned at that meeting that I didn't know before. And that is that hate crimes in San Diego are down 5% than they were last year. But that anti-Semitic hate crimes went up 12% in San Diego this year than in other years. That was one fact that, Don, I think you were touching on, which is things have changed, and whether we like it or not, those are things that changed. But I think the second thing is that San Diego, you may not know this, is a model police department in the sense that there are almost a dozen, if not more, agencies here in San Diego that are law enforcement agencies, and they are by far the most communicative, and they work together on issues that San Diego is a model of police departments around this country. And I think that, like you're saying, again, we're very proud of them, and we wish them only success on the things that they do. And we hope that they never have to deal with these kind of things again. That's our hope.
And Rabbi Halevy, I want to say,
yes.
It's been just a great pleasure watching you when you were kids, like your 6-year-old son. I saw you walking in the neighborhood, and you've been part of the neighborhood. So as you talk about the police force being a model to San Diego, your family has been a model to University City. And, it's just always through pain that we get such gain. And, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but really reading the next door neighbor comments was so reassuring. So, when we hear about the rising anti-Semitism and, what's going on in the community, when you see how many people were ready to escort you, looking at you, I don't think you need any escorting. And knowing your dad, I know, that Sephardic, blood is very strong, and you're going to, fight the fight if you need to. But, and also, I just want to say, you've always enriched this community, and you continue to, and I'm just proud of your family. I helped your family find their house. You're now in my old office. We walked across the road so we could vacate our office so you could have that space for social distancing.
That's right.
I'm very pleased that we made that sacrifice for you, and continue doing what you do and adding to our community.
Thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to have you with us. By the way, that is true. I want to thank our management for allowing us to move into that former space, which has really given us the opportunity to meet. For almost 6 months, we hadn't had an opportunity to pray together as a community aside from Zoom. You mentioned my parents. Like I told you, my father is a PhD here in San Diego, works in the health field, in the neuroscience field. My mother is a longtime educator, a teacher, and the leader, both of them community leaders in my own community and in the San Diego community. And whenever people tell me that I remind them of my parents, I always say, if only I can have half the integrity and greatness of my parents, I will be a very happy person. I'm very honored to be their child, and I think that they chose this neighborhood because it is filled with people that are good, like all of you that are here tonight. Thank you for that. Anyone else before we head out for the night? Okay. Let me then just take the moment to wish everybody a good night. Yes, please. Who's that?
Justin and Mayor.
Justin, how are you?
I just wanted to say that when this news hit, I'm very saddened and hurt that you and your father had to go through this experience. But knowing you and knowing your father, I know there's a great reason beyond this, and a positive message will come through. It's already beginning to happen, and God is using this as an opportunity for your community, for this community, and all of our communities to grow stronger and better as a result of this.
And I'm very grateful. Like I said, if it happened somewhere and it happened to someone, I'm very grateful that this is what came out of it. And this should always be what comes out of such occasions, is only goodness and positivity. And we should all as a community, both local and global, just go stronger and together. That's my only wish and hope. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Right? Anything else? Okay, I'm wishing everybody really a good night. Just a reminder that we have on Saturday morning from 11 to 12, Tama is organizing. There's a flyer that's been going around. There will be an event on the corner of, I'm just going to say the corner of Governor and Regent, so you know where to find us. And on Sunday evening at 8 p.m., I'll be giving a lecture on the topic of healing hatred of the heart. I would really love to see you there. And like I said before, we would love to have you engage with our community, to know us personally as well. Please write down my email address. I would love to hear from you if I haven't already. And really, thank you for making this community the wonderful and amazing community that it is. Have a beautiful evening. Good night, and God bless all of you. Thank you.